Everybody, welcome to Take the Black Live, the show where myself, Dan Selke of WintersComing.net, and Cheryl Wassenaar of Cultures.com talk through the latest Game of Thrones, Song of Ice and Fire, genre fiction news, and only like a month and change out from the final season of Game of Thrones, there's plenty to talk about.
There is. I'm prepared to talk about these things, but I'm not prepared for the new season, so let's just jump right in, Dan.
I'm really ready to.
I know you are.
I'm ready to watch it.
I know you are.
And hello, everybody, for joining us. Yes. Hey, Julie. Hey, Berthel. Hey, Terry, Kenny, Kevin, and Sean. Glad you could be here.
Hi,
and we do have, I'll warn you at the top, we do have some spoilery stuff to go over today for the final season of Game of Thrones. So if you, in the unlikely event you are uncomfortable with spoilers for this show, watching this show, you might want to plug your ears for a second. Otherwise, let's dive in.
Do it. Let's go. Tell me everything.
Okay, first up. Okay, we have some information about some characters who are going to return for the final season of Game of Thrones that we didn't really think we were going to see. This happened when HBO, in its hubris, published a cast list for the first episode of season 8 premiere, which I'm going to guess is called Welcome Back, Everybody.
Winter is here. I'm booking it now.
I'm going to say Winterfell, but yeah, I guess Winter is here too.
Yeah. Keep going.
Anyway, they have a cast list, and everybody's going to be there. And two names popped up that we haven't seen for a while. Okay, so this is the point where you should turn back if you don't want to know spoilers.
Yeah.
In season 8, we are going to see, again, for the first time in a couple of years, Robin Arryn, played by Lino Facioli, and Edmure Tully, played by, there we go, Tobias Menzies of Outlander fame, if anyone watches that fine program. Mm-hmm. All right, so Cheryl, my question to you is, okay, A, did you think that we would see these guys again?
I wouldn't have like dead on said it, like, oh yeah, they're going to be back. Mm-hmm. But the more I think about it, the more it makes sense to me, because I think this season is going to do a lot with the concept of family, just because of the whole Jon Daenerys, oh, by the way, that's incest thing. Mm-hmm. And these are Stark relatives. More specifically, they're related to Sansa and Arya. So I think it's going to be interesting to see how they come back and kind of complicate the whole family ties thing.
Sure. Well, I mean,
there you go.
I don't think Robin Arryn's a Stark relative technically.
Yeah, he is.
Is he?
He's Lysa Tully's son.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Oh, yeah. God. You know what? I never thought about that they're actually cousins.
They're actually cousins.
Oh, God. They wanted to marry Sansa to him. Why can't they stop with the... That's more incest. That's new incest. But
yes.
I should have known that already. Obviously, yes, they're cousins.
Yes, they are cousins.
Yeah. You know, just saying that. Hey, Kenny, did I get my email about Arya, says Kenny. I don't think I did, Kenny. If you want, email me at dan.selke@winteriscoming.net. We can write it in the chat there.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'll get it. Okay. I'm intrigued by this. I think, family's important.
Yes.
I also think they'll need, because as they're kind of minor characters in the grand scheme of things, mm-hmm. but they do both hold positions of great power. Like Robin Arryn, now that Littlefinger is dead, and, you know, Sansa is only kind of like the Knights of the Vale follow her, but she's not technically in charge.
Yeah.
Robin Arryn is, oh my God, just God help us, but the ruler of the Vale.
He is Lord of the Vale. He is Warden of the East, if you will.
Warden of the East who was breastfeeding until he was 13 years old. So he's in charge.
Oh, God. Yes.
And I don't know if he'll show up at Winterfell, like maybe bringing the remaining Knights of the Vale to help fight the White Walkers.
That's my guess.
Yeah, mine too. Which, by the way, could get awkward. I mean, okay, here are two scenarios. Robin Arryn shows up, and he, as much as a man-child as always, and just starts right up with the whole, like, oh, you'll be my new mommy girlfriend, won't you, Sansa? And that'll be disgusting. But what if he's, like, grown up a little bit, and he's now, like, into this really awkward, like, a teenage emo stage, and he has some pimples, and he's trying to grow out of it?
Teenage emo. Teenage emo. Because the last time we saw him, he was getting some actual martial training.
He was failing, but he was getting it.
Look, small steps.
Baby steps.
We know where this boy started. Mm-hmm. Seven help him. So
that's a good point. He has grown a bit.
Like, I don't expect full-on Lyanna Mormont, because there is only one person that can occupy that space, and that's Lyanna Mormont. But I expect I expect a little more maturity. Dubious maturity, but maturity.
Yeah, it's going to be hard to sell complete man-child when he's that old.
Yeah.
Here's one thing I wonder. Maybe he comes, he has the army with him, and he's still immature, but Sansa has to like talk him down to like he wants to go back to the Vale with all his knights, and it's gonna fall to Sansa to convince him to stay. Whether that means marriage, whether that means just
slapping
placating
upside the head.
again. Maybe perhaps he did that, and he's like had a crush on her ever since.
Okay, that went a place that I didn't need it to go. So
It's Game
let's
of Thrones,
talk about
anything can
Edmure Tully.
Great.
Please.
Edmure Tully. Okay. So last time we saw him, season 6, he is getting thrown in a dungeon by Walder Frey. Walder Frey's dead. All the Freys are dead. Edmure Tully is, I think, the last remaining Tully that we know of.
Yes. He's the last remaining Tully that actually counts as part of House Tully.
Yes.
Because there's a bunch of Tully.
By the way,
witches.
Kenny, I do get your emails. I have gotten your emails before. He's saying that he never wins giveaways because I don't get emails. I swear to get emails. I just have not gotten your one about Arya.
Yeah.
But I remember getting your emails through past giveaways, and it just was never quite quick enough. I'm very sorry.
Yeah.
Anyway, Edmure Tully, in charge of the Riverlands, or technically he is.
Technically.
So I could see him.
Jaime picks him up.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
Perhaps like in season 7, because we haven't seen him since all the Freys died at Arya's hands. Maybe he like rounded up the Riverlander armies now, and he's been fixing things up a bit.
Yeah.
While all this crazy dragon invasion stuff's been going on.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Just been having a quiet little time in the Riverlands. As quiet as possible, considering all the political stuff that's happening too.
I mean, next to dragon battles fighting the Lannisters, it's positively dead silent.
Tame, even.
Yeah, and White Walkers with undead bears and
Yeah.
stuff.
It's just
kinda
everything's
easy.
happening.
All he has is just
He's puttering
people.
around his garden or something.
Anyway, I am very glad they're going to bring him back.
Yes.
Both of them.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the kind of guy who demands that all the loose ends be tied up. I think that might actually be a bad thing. Like I don't like the obsessive, like I have to fix every tiny thing for this story to end. I didn't like Deathly Hallows for that reason. There's some other things I haven't liked because of that. But they're pretty big characters. They do have roles to play. I'm happy to see that they'll come back and they will be resolved, their arcs somehow.
Yeah, I'm excited too. I'm very much down to see kind of how like Edmure and Robin both react to how their nieces and cousins respectively have kind of grown up since the last time they've seen them.
Yeah, good point.
Like Sansa's just like, what's up? Y'all are incompetent.
More crap.
Yeah. Like she's like sitting like she has like the power seat and she's just like, what? What's up? That's all I need.
Sean points out, Edmure does have a son.
Didn't they put the baby in the catapult though?
No, they threatened to.
Oh,
Jaime
okay.
threatened to. I don't think it actually happened.
Look, I don't put anything past Jaime Lannister.
So yeah, there is a Tully ancestor. The Tullys are actually not
Tully
doing
descendant.
that. Yeah, descendant.
Yeah.
That bad comparatively to other families in the show. That's a little weird.
Yeah, I mean it's a low bar to clear.
There's
but
an heir. It's true. It's a very low bar to clear.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's happening.
Yes, that's happening.
all nice.
Yes.
Speaking of Sansa, did you hear anything about she's going to wear armor in season 8?
I'm
That'll be
strongly
fun.
into that.
Yeah, that'll be fun. That'll be
I
a good time.
support that 100%. I'm here for it. It's all I need for season
I wonder
8.
if she'll have like a ceremonial sword or something. Because I mean, she's not gonna like fight in the melee or anything, but she can be in a Queen Elizabeth kind of a stately figurehead kind of thing
I'm
in a
not
piece
ready.
of armor. It'd be fun.
I'd be so excited for that.
I sense that you're into it.
Whatever gave you that idea?
How will Robin get along with his uncle? Asked Sean.
Oh, Uncle Edmure?
Oh yeah. I wonder if they'll even bother meeting.
I feel like they're just kind of going to be awkward with each other, to answer your question. Like, I feel like they're just going to be awkward. Like, they don't really know each other very well. Like, you know, Lysa was kind of crazy. And Edmure probably remembers that. So that's kind of my off the gut.
What's the cool thing about Game of Thrones or just medieval times? Like, you know, if we have our crazy families, we know we can travel by plane and train and car to see them at Thanksgiving and stuff. But in this world, Lysa goes off to the Eyrie. You're not seeing her for like decades until she begins to come down.
It was a whole big plot point when Catelyn took Tyrion to the Vale that she hadn't seen her sister in forever.
And you're different, lady.
And
what happened?
some things happened. But yes, I think that would be kind of the relationship. I don't think it's going to be explored very much because you know they're not super major characters.
It's also weird to think how all the people are related. I forgot that, yeah, Edmure and Robin are nephew and uncle. And
Yeah.
Sansa, Arya, and Robin are cousins. Weird.
Yeah. It's all.
And Bran. Nobody
Everyone's
cares.
related, but nobody cares about Bran because he doesn't care either.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yes.
Some more spoiler stuff. This is a little bit less spoilery, but still fun. So for season 8, the production of Game of Thrones built this giant, massive, enormous King's Landing set
Yes.
at the paint or outside the Paint Hall in Titanic Studios, Northern Ireland. So huge, so amazing. We've gotten like some far away pictures and videos from now because no one's going to get close enough to really snap it on the inside. But thanks to the ever-present satellite surveillance that runs our lives now, we can now see up-close images of the King's Landing set using Google Apps. And I will warn you, this is another sort of spoilery thing, because, I mean, this has been known, but you might not know it.
Yeah.
We're going to look at some pictures, and close your ears now if you don't want. Okay, basically, King's Landing has been destroyed. Look at that. Look at those beautiful pictures of what it will look like in Season 8.
The quality.
Isn't that great?
Oh.
Oh, it's right up in there.
Oh, yes, it's the great.
Blasted to hell. There's like the main thoroughfare. Look at the buildings that are just been wrecked on the side.
This is
falling
all
over.
fantastic.
Like the warped columns, I'm guessing for
That is
Dragonfire is my
that is
best guess.
extremely.
Oh, there are more of these.
I know there are more of these. I'm just.
And that's the full thing.
That's so great.
I know, it's looking great.
I love science.
So, I mean, yeah, surveil me. Go ahead. So yeah, we have the front gate. It's blasted all to hell. The thoroughfare we got there. The buildings are all crumbling on all the
Yep.
sides and just debris everywhere. A white tower, and that's the Red Keep facade. They built one giant facade of the Red Keep. Yeah, right there. Excellent, Richard. You're panning spectacularly. Great job.
It's a team effort here.
So yeah, basically, we can see. So you can go right now to Apple Maps, I guess is what it is, which I hadn't actually heard of, and just get. I use Google Maps. What? Apple has a map function.
It's fine.
And go and look at the Game of Thrones set in all its detail. Get
Yes.
a 3D tour of it.
It is fantastic.
Because we just took all of these. You can take your own pictures. It's fine. And just see from every in and out. And obviously, I mean, we knew it was going to get destroyed, but it's just fun to be able to see it up close. It's going to look so good on screen.
It's gonna look great.
It's going to look so freaking
They
good.
spent so much money. It's gonna be awesome.
Dan Turton asked, how do we access these? You go to Google Apps, Google Maps. No, sorry, Apple Apps.
Apple Maps.
Apple Maps.
Yeah.
And I believe you just type in the address. It's the Paint Hall Studios in Belfast, Northern Ireland. Titanic Studios at the Paint Hall in Belfast, Northern Ireland. And you can explore it at your leisure. And just
Fancy.
take whatever you want.
I'm sure winterscoming.net has also written about these.
Oh, of course. And have all
Yes.
these pictures.
Yeah,
David
you
took
can
them. I didn't
take a
take
look
them.
at winterscoming.net for more details.
And Julie asked, where's the bodies? I'm guessing in the prop room.
yeah, they pulled the bodies out. This is too much of a spoiler as it is.
It's gonna leave the bodies
Yeah.
out in the set. Just
They
to
let the
cook in
bodies
sun.
hit the floor and they left them there.
Exactly. But yeah, that'll be fun. And you know, after it's all over, I think they're leaving that set up as a tourist attraction. I guess are they going to leave it up as like a destroyed set? We'll see.
I feel like that would be almost more fun than walking through a pristine set. At least for me.
Yes, I don't know. We'll see. I'll probably go there eventually and
I
take
like
some pictures.
broken things, so. Well, I would just
I like
to
broken things.
Yeah, phew, that sounded deeply emo. But I feel like it would be nice to walk up and kind of see the destruction, like how well constructed it is, as
Oh,
like
totally,
a
the
messed up
detailing.
set. Yeah.
And as Kenny's pointing out, it is Apple Maps, Christian. I know, I was getting confused myself.
Yeah.
As Kenny points out, there was that scene in season 2 where Daenerys had the vision of the House of the Undying. She walked through the broken throne room.
Yep.
So they've known they're going to do this for a long time. And I'm just
Yeah.
looking forward to seeing it finally up on the screen.
Let's go.
For my viewing pleasure. And Julie wants blood and guts. I do too.
Speaking of blood and guts,
Oh, what a transition. Okay. HBO Marketing Machine
Yes.
in full scale, full speed ahead. What do you think of this? So HBO is doing a way to promote Game of Thrones Season 8 called Bleed for the Throne, where it is holding around the world, partnering with the American Red Cross, although there are things in other countries too, a blood drive from, I believe it's now, it's like March 7th through the 12th. They're going to be holding Game of Thrones themed blood drives around the world. you will get a free T-shirt with that symbol on it, which is pretty cool. Come on, Bloody Iron Throne.
Pretty dope.
And if you give blood before, I better write it down. Before the 15th, I believe, March 15th, you can get entered in for a chance to see the Game of Thrones season 8 premiere.
Fancy.
Quite nice.
Yeah.
Do you like this idea? Blood drive? I think it's pretty creative.
It's weird, but I'm into it.
I mean, I feel bad saying it's weird because, I mean, at the end of the day, like, you know, this blood's going to go to help people. It's going to go to the American Red Cross and people who need it.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's weird to give blood, like
Right.
if you are able to consider it. But if it's, you know, but like Game of Thrones and a blood drive.
It's bloody.
Yeah,
It dovetails.
It makes a weird amount of sense, but it's you know, it's something you don't always expect from your giant media franchises.
I think it's actually pretty cool because, I mean,
yes.
yeah. Like, at first I thought it was creepy, but the more I think about it, it's like they're partnering to do some good. And, you know, we're not going to tell you to go give blood because that'd be highly inappropriate. But, I don't know. I might do it.
That's why I settled for consider if you're able.
Yes, consider, exactly. And
Yeah.
Eric Pritchard says, I'm going to donate blood for the first time to get in on this, which I think is a great idea.
There you go. There you go, Eric. Very proud of you.
And finally, let's go beyond the wall for a second. And talk
Moving
about
from blood to walls. Oh boy.
Blood Walls. And talk about idea for a fantasy novel, Blood Wall. Talk about something that's not related to Game of Thrones.
Okay.
Okay, so Game of Thrones is almost over. It's going to end. And there are a lot of networks who are rushing to get the next big show in there.
Yes, they are.
Maybe the highest profile is Amazon's giant Lord of the Rings show. I'm a giant fan of Lord of the Rings. I'm gonna guess at least some of you watching like Lord of the Rings too, because there's the Venn diagram of Lord of the Rings fans and Game of Thrones fans. I think it's a lot of overlap. High fantasy, you know, dragons, medieval styles.
I'm not a huge fan of Lord of the Rings.
Are you not?
No,
Oh, I didn't know that.
I'm not. I've read the books before everyone gets up in arms. I've read the books.
How about the Silmarillion?
I don't hate myself that much.
It was hard to get through.
Yeah, I read the books. I respect Lord of the Rings for what it did for the genre.
Sure.
I wouldn't call myself a die-hard fan, though. I do appreciate the movies as great cinematic adaptations, and
Yeah.
y'all can come at me for that one.
Oh, no, I completely agree with you.
Yeah, it's like
Influential, too.
It is a thing that I enjoy, but it's not something that I will fight and kill for.
Fair enough.
If you will, metaphorically fight and kill.
Well, I'm a pretty big fan, and Amazon's making this giant splashy series.
Yes, they are.
Really, like a $500 million to make the first 2 seasons.
So much money.
So much money. And they finally started to tease, to kind of give us promotions about it, to tell us about that. Tell us a bit about it.
All right, what
and
did they give us?
They tweeted out a map of Middle Earth, where Lord of the Rings takes place. And there it is. This is the official Amazon release of the Lord of the Rings show. And for anybody who's as drunk about this as I am, you might note, hopefully you wouldn't, that as pointed out to me by some nerds on the internet, I'm sorry, I shouldn't have said that, a very intelligent commenter named Calvin Schultz from WintersComing.net,
Yes.
the area we know as Rohan, where the Horse Lords live, here is labeled as Kalinardhan. There you go. Excellent. Richard, your panning game is expert today. So what that tells us is this show is probably going to be set about at least 500 years before the events of the main Hobbit and Lord of the Rings show, because Kalinardhan was the old name for Rohan before they changed it pretty deep into the Third Age of Middle Earth. I'm saying a lot of dorky words right now.
For those who are listening on our podcast, the face that I am making is just kind of blank resignation.
I swear it would be really exciting if you were into Lord of the Rings.
I'm excited. I think it's interesting that they're exploring something different. They're not just going to make a show about young Aragorn, because I know that was the rumor. That was
the
going
rumor,
around.
and I mean they still could. I mean it's just a tweet and a map.
Yeah, but it seems, if I recall,
It does seem intentional.
The map also came with some lines from the poem about the One Ring and all the other rings. So it's 3 rings for the
Elven Lords,
and 5 for
7
the
for the dwarves, 9 for the men. All that good stuff.
Yeah, 7 for the dwarves, excuse me, and then 9 for the men doomed to die, and then 1 ring to rule them all. Blah blah blah. And everyone was like, oh, so maybe they're going to be looking at the forging of the other rings as opposed to the One Ring. And that could also be interesting. I mean, I'm always down for more elves.
Sure. What it tells me is they know their fake Middle-earth history.
They paid someone to know their fake Middle-earth history
They
for
paid
them.
well for someone to know their fake Middle-earth history.
Very well for someone to know the fake history.
You could have paid me. I would have told you stuff.
But then who would I talk about Game of Thrones with every week, Dan?
An empty chair.
Oh, well, I suppose I could do that. But yes, I think it's interesting that they're teasing at least that they're going to go somewhere different with this and not just rehash everything over and over again.
I'm interested. And
I'm interested too.
And I'm glad for the opportunity to flex my Lord of the Rings nerd muscles. And I'm sure that other people on the internet are too.
I'm glad to appreciate your guys' work, even if my expression doesn't show it.
It's intelligent, like the way they're doing it, because they know if they release some vaguely cryptic thing on the internet, idiots like me will jump on it and overanalyze it and, spit out stuff and about theories. Like, that's the new marketing way.
It's free real estate, Dan.
It really is.
But yes.
Why would you pay me? I'm doing this for free. All right. Any other thoughts, Cheryl?
I'm excited for Game of Thrones to come back. I'm ready.
Me too.
I'm so glad that we were able to discuss family relations on Game of Thrones and make sure that everybody's clear on who's related to whom.
And we'll do it some more.
Oh yes, we will.
All right.
Until next week, then, everybody. It's been a pleasure, and I will see you next week.
And we're going to bring on Josh Hill for a Song of Dan and Josh after these coming attractions.
Oh, Ned Stark, will you ever learn? Oh, sorry, I didn't see you there. I'm Dan Selke, the editor at winteriscoming.net, your one-stop shop for all things Game of Thrones, A Song of Ice and Fire, and genre fiction in general. We here at Wick love bringing you news, reviews, and editorial content, and we're going to keep doing all that stuff. However, for the especially hardcore among you, we're going to start offering even more. Welcome to the Wick Club. The Wick Club is a Patreon-funded effort to provide fantasy and sci-fi fans with even more Wick content. You can join at several levels. For $1 a month, you can enter into monthly swag giveaways and get to read extra columns. At $4, you'll get to watch extra episodes of Take the Black Lie, our weekly chat show, with topics chosen by you. Please be gentle. And at the Valyrian Steel level, that's $10 a month, you get Wick Club t-shirts and access to a new segment we're calling Drinking and Knowing Things, a monthly live stream where I drink wine and talk with all of you in a free-flowing conversation about Game of Thrones, fantasy, sci-fi, and whatever else comes up after I've had a few. Just to be clear, we're not going to stop doing anything on Wick we already do, and we're hoping to add more stuff anyway. The Wick Club is a way to produce even more content, and hopefully to get to know some of you better. You can find links to more information below. We hope to see you in the Wick Clubhouse. Valar Morghulis, bottoms up, and thanks for watching.
Everybody, I'm pretty sure we're back. I am Dan Selke, and I'm here now joined by fan-sided editor and Overmunch,
right.
Josh Hill.
Hello. Overmunch, indeed.
And we're here to discuss A Clash of Kings, the second book in George R.R. Martin's Song of Ice and Fire series.
Yeah.
On this here's what we do, Josh, if just to catch you up, is you and I read through each and every chapter of A Song of Ice and Fire. Oh. I've read all the books multiple times. You have never read the books.
Wait, that's what we're doing?
That's what we're doing.
Oops. I didn't prepare for this then.
I read a different book. I read Gone with the Wind.
I thought we were reading Lord of the Rings. You were just talking about Lord of the Rings.
It's true.
Damn it.
We kind of are. And we go through every chapter, break them down, so it makes more, make some special.
Yep.
And we're on Clash of Kings. We're still pretty early on in it. We just read the first Jon chapter from A Clash of Kings. Josh, what were your hot takes on this, or your initial reactions?
Benjen. We got a Benjen mention. So
we did.
I do like him. These Jon chapters are very interesting because there's not a whole lot ever goes on. And there's also kind of like a string of these last chapters that we've read. Not a lot went on in the Bran chapter, not a lot
That's
went
what
on
I'm
in the Arya
like
chapter. Yeah, the streak continued where it was like, okay, we got some information but not a lot, and there was barely any action.
Which I mean, and let's qualify. We are reading one chapter a week at a time in a book that, like, that's not how you read books. So it's...
But it's very episodic, just like Game of Thrones.
I think if we were reading like a normal person and just like reading the book,
been those
like
3 chapters
sit down for an hour and then you just read a few chapters in a row, it goes a little faster. But yeah, we've definitely been in setup land for a while now. And that continues here, absolutely. Like, this is one of the, nothing really happens in this chapter. Jon and Sam are talking in the library. Jon's talking to Lord Commander Mormont. And we get some interesting, a lot of foreshadowing, but we're basically just caught up with what's happening. And what's happening is Lord Commander Mormont's going to take a lot of Night's Watchmen, like 300 strong, take him beyond the wall, find out what happened to Benjen Stark, find him, dead or alive, bring him home, dead or alive, and just go on a big old fact-finding mission. Jon's coming, Sam's coming. How does Sam feel about that?
He feels like Sam. He feels a little... This is not a strong man, Sam is. But I wouldn't define him as the strongest soul. But he's there with Jon, so it's like this. I like the tandem, the friendship that they have.
Yeah, it is cute,
like,
right?
It is, because Sam's very much not looking forward to doing anything that exerts any sort of effort.
He does not want to go north of the Spooky Wall.
But Jon's there, and that's kind of like a safety net for him. So it is like this cool little buddy cop element to their whole relationship.
I was charmed by how much of a giant nerd Sam was in this chapter. So we see him in the library like late at night. He's looking for maps. And
foreshadowing.
You think so?
Well, in the show, because doesn't he find out about the Valerian steel or whatever in
yeah, he does.
the library?
He finds out the Dragonstone map. Yeah, I guess you're right. I mean, he's always in a book or something. He's going to do it. And he's waxing poetic to Jon about these manifests he found for like Night's Watchmen 1,000 years ago. But like, look at all the pickled herring they ate. And Jon's like, who cares about how much pickled cod they ate 600 years ago? And Sam says, I would. You can learn so much from ledgers like that. Truly you can. It can tell you how many men were in the Night's Watch then, how they lived, what they ate. And Jon says, they ate food, and they lived as we lived. So I like that contrast, that Sam is this incredible, huge nerd. Well, he is big, but incredibly huge nerd who is actually interested in 600-year-old like inventories of like how much pickled cod they had in the thing.
No, I like that.
And Jon's like, can we go?
It makes him endearing.
It does.
Sam is this character who doesn't fit in with any of the other characters, these traits that these other characters have, because you've got all of these warrior characters, you have all of these alphas, and then you've got Sam, who's just Sam. He's not even a beta. He's not an alpha. He's just Sam, and he's talking about cod that's 600 years old and all.
And he's interested in it.
And he's genuinely interested. There's a relatable, endearing quality to Sam, where it's like, because I was reading that and I was like, oh, not specifically about 600-year-old fish, but cod, like I could be like, oh, I could see myself.
You're into like the minutia of Star Wars.
Yeah, like reading about it, and because I was going to compare these chapters to The Last Jedi, where not a lot happens in a single movie, and we're just going through these chapters, but there's a lot of setup in between things. But yeah, the minutia of Star Wars. But like that would be something that I like would nerd out about, the same that Sam would nerd out about pickled herring, which is
exactly. And
not the same thing.
About Song of Ice and Fire, because here we are. Yeah, so I relate to that. I think Sam is a kind of a self-insert character for George R.R. Martin. He is...
Ooh, that's good. Yeah.
Oh, it's totally true. Oh, he's, the bookish...
Oh, yeah.
Kind of bigger nerd.
Yeah. Bearded.
No, Sam can't grow a beard. You kidding? Okay. Not enough testosterone. Suspenders probably another thing. So that's adorable. And of course, he's doing that in part because he is utterly terrified to go on this ranging north of the wall. He has to go because someone has to watch over the ravens, and he's good with animals, and he can write, so he can write messages. And he's like, you can write, why don't you do it? Jon's like, I'm going to be busy. Sorry, got a squire, you got to come.
Which is great because like I would definitely go into the Night's Watch being like, you know what I'll do? I'll do the one thing that'll never require violence. I'll write. And then here he's thrust into this thing.
Yeah, it's got to go.
It's like, I'm good with animals and I can write words. I will never have to wield a sword. And it's like, nope, here you go.
And he's terrified, which, I'll get over.
I would also be.
Of course, who wouldn't be?
We're all Sam. Can we just say it?
I also like this little bit. So this is just kind of the start of it. We also get some there's a lot of describing the wall, just because, again, we remember, this is the first time we're seeing Jon in a new book. We saw him 3 years ago, so he's not going to dive right in. He's going to take descriptions. But I like the descriptions. The color of the wall was wont to change with every shift of the light. Now it was the deep blue of frozen rivers, now the dirty white of old snow, and when a cloud passed before the sun, it darkened to the pale gray of pitted stone. Wow. What an evocative wall.
Very evocative.
I like it. I like
very visceral.
Yeah, it's immediate. I can see it. It took me there.
Mm-hmm. I've seen it in the show, so it kind of like spoils a little bit for me. My imagination has been soiled, but
sure, but still. Well described.
It's a well described wall. That's how I described it the first time I saw the show. I went down to a friend and I described it exactly like that. And so when I read it in the chapter, I was like, my God, is it possible for somebody to plagiarize something that I said 15 years after they wrote it?
I think you should sue them and find out. And beyond that, we get some other. At this point, everybody interprets this comet differently in the air. Mm-hmm. Everybody, like I remember, Arya saw it as ice. Ned's sword that used to top of his head. Mm-hmm. The first guy thought it was an omen of dragons. And now we get people are calling it Mormont's torch, sent by the gods to light the old man's way through the haunted forest, to guide the Night's Watch ranging beyond the wall.
Yeah.
So again, we kind of hit that a bunch of times, that theme of perspective. Everybody says it's been different, yada, yada, yada. There is no truth but your own, that kind of thing. So that's happening. We also get just again, a lot of foreshadowing, both plot and thematic. I liked this bit where Donal Nye, the armorer at Castle Black, talks about the Baratheon brothers, who will dominate a lot of this book. Okay. A lot of this is Stannis and Renly fighting, is the Clash of Kings. Robert was the true steel, says Donal Nye. Stannis is pure iron, black and hard and strong, yes, but brittle, the way iron gets. Stannis will break before he bends. And Renly, that one, he's copper, bright and shiny, pretty to look at, but not worth all that much at the end of the day. Which I think is, again, these characters are going to be huge in this book. And that is like the Stannis description. Mm-hmm. He's iron. He's hard, but he's brittle. He'll break before he bends. Stannis is unwielding. We know that. Stannis will do whatever it takes, up to burning his daughter, to do what he thinks needs to be done. Even if it's incredibly ill-advised, and then all his army deserts him, and he charges and gets killed. Mm-hmm. So I think that's very what's the word? Perspective there, and a very accurate prospect of what we're going to get. And Renly, again, of this kind of like kind of frivolous dude who is trying to be king, partly because it's fun, and not really because he really burns with a desire to do it, or has a sense of duty about it. And again, I think it's nice that we get that set up here, even though this story will not interact with the Baratheon stuff at all. But we do have a character here who knows them and can tell Jon a little bit about what these guys are. Which is more for our benefit, because Jon's not going to. I guess he will meet Stannis eventually, but he's not going to meet these guys for books and books yet. Mm-hmm. But we're going to meet them a lot in these pages.
Exposition, I love it.
I mean,
little
but again,
setup.
It doesn't really read as exposition.
No, it doesn't.
Because it's well written.
It's world building too, because it's like here's this character that knows of these other characters that we're going to be talking about or meeting and going inside of their heads.
And they do that too, because he fought. I forget which side, but he fought. In the Robert's Rebellion. So he would have met all these guys back then before he came on the thing. So smart there, Martin, you rascal. And also I liked when Jon is talking to Lord Commander Mormont. There is a dude named Thorin Smallwood in here who had been one of Alistair Thorne's henchmen. And he doesn't approve of the range. He thinks it's stupid. We shouldn't do this. It's a waste of resources. And as you know, we both know, there's eventually a mutiny beyond the wall.
Yes.
Lord Commander Mormont dies. I think Martin's laying the seeds for that here.
Yeah.
That there's at least one Night's Watchman who thinks it's a bad idea to go beyond the wall, and it's going to end in mutiny. So he ends up. This sentiment will spread among the rest of the team.
Foreshadowing.
It's all foreshadowing. Great. Oh, we also have, and then it also foreshadowed some themes.
Theme foreshadowing.
Exactly. Donal Nye is just a wonderful source of great lines. Talked about Robert Baratheon. What's that?
He really was.
He was. Robert was never the same after he put on that crown. Some men are like swords, made for fighting. Hang them up and they go to rust. So a theme that we have a lot in this series is how power changes you.
Yep.
The idea that Robert was, a good leader, a strong warrior, and then he puts on a crown and he becomes king, and he's just different. He's not the same person he was. He goes to hell. He goes to rust. He starts to be lazy, not really take his job seriously. Yeah. And again, we have to ask ourselves that. We have to ask, how does Jon change when he becomes Lord Commander of the Night's Watch? How does Daenerys change when she goes from Drogo's concubine to leader in her own right? How does Cersei change when she goes from mother of the king to burner of everybody, queen in her own right? A lot of the book, to me, is about what power does to you and how it changes a person.
Yeah. Well said.
All right.
No, I mean, because it was like the analogy or the riddle that we had in, was it this book or the other book?
Yeah, it was this book.
With this book, that's right. Because I was thinking of that.
It was last week, almost
with
2 weeks ago. 3 weeks,
with the sword, what does the sword mean? And it's all metaphor for power, and it's all a metaphor for what wielding that power means. Not necessarily for who wields the power, but what you're wielding the power for. So the people, what can they do against you?
Exactly. All right. And, okay, finally I want to ask you this. So, toward the end of it, like for 2 pages, Lord Commander Mormont goes on a long, very detailed discussion of Maester Aemon's past and how he almost became king.
Yeah.
How he, like, all his relations. You know, he tells this whole story about, Maester Aemon's a Targaryen dude from way back in the day. And he was like 5th, 6th, 4th in line to get the crown. But his brothers died in battle. His sister was an idiot and couldn't inherit the throne because she was simple. And he spends a lot of time talking about this. Why do you think he did that, and was it boring to you?
It wasn't boring. I mean, it wasn't particularly interesting either. It was not a page-turning conversation. But no, I mean, it was an interesting factor that, like, the idea that he could have been king.
Yeah.
And then he just wasn't king. Like
he has that humility in him.
I know, and like we're in the middle of this, dead heat for everybody trying to get to the throne. You've got everybody who's a rightful heir to the throne, and you've got Joffrey, who's not even a rightful heir to the throne. He's the product of incest, and somehow he's managed to, trump his way into the throne. And we have a guy here who could have had what everybody wants and was like, I'm good. I'm gonna go way up north and exile myself. It's just like it was a fascinating juxtaposition between what we've been dealing with the characters, and then here's this person who could go completely against the grain, and it's like, why? And he's not, and it's like almost spoken poorly of, or it's like, well, you could have been king. Why wouldn't you want to be king? How dare you not be king? And he's just like, whatever.
Actually, I hadn't really thought of that. I think you're exactly right. That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, we're talking about how power changes you when you get it.
Yeah.
What does it say of somebody who could have it but says, yeah, thanks? Yeah. Is that a good thing, a bad thing? It's just maybe the way to keep power from changing you, maybe this is the lesson, is to not assume it and just stay humble.
Wow.
And serve.
There you go. My life has changed, and everybody else who's listened to this is now a different person.
I was going to complain, because I do think George R. R. Martin has these kind of occasional passages where he loves his own invented history so much that he just kind of like goes on about it in a way that's not terribly fascinating reading, doesn't really serve a super duper point.
But like a broken clock is right twice a day. So like maybe he falls ass backwards into these. Maybe I'm misinterpreting. Maybe I'm waxing poetic about how he's got this thing.
Your thing makes a lot of sense. It makes perfect sense.
It does, but maybe he accidentally did that. Maybe he is just fetishizing his own, imagined history. And here we are so many years later. Like, how many other pieces of literature have we hundreds and thousands of years later been like, it means this? And when the person wrote it, is probably Shakespeare is probably like, this is a joke. This is a fart joke. And everybody's like, oh, this is so brilliant. This soliloquy is like, it's about a toot.
Well, personally,
like, what are you talking about?
I think we should give that for the doubt because I liked interpretation. I think it's a good thing. And there is technically a point because he's Lord Commander Morris saying this to Jon.
Yeah, important.
And he's comparing it to what happened with Robb. He's saying that Maester Aemon's brother became a king, and he was able to step aside to become a Night's Watchman, where he's not going to get any glory. He's not going to marry anybody. He's not going to have kids. He's not going to live in a castle. Not going to wear a crown. Not going to do anything fancy. He's going to be in a cold ice box the rest of his life with a thick chain, like advising people who are underfed, underpaid. It's going to be a hard life. So you, Jon, your brother's a king now. Robb is a king. Can you do that? Can you be the person who just devotes himself to this kind of, difficult life as a Night's Watchman while your brother goes and gets glory in women and wins battles and does all this cool stuff?
Yeah, it's very existential. Perfectly existential for Game of Thrones.
It is. Well, and could you do it, Josh?
Could I do it?
Could you serve knowing that your best friend and brother is off living his glory and living his truth?
No. I'm way too selfish for that. I couldn't do that. No, I probably could.
Well, Jon could. Oh, Jon could. Wait, you went back on it now? Okay,
maybe.
Fine.
I don't know.
Well, Jon could, because Jon says...
Jon could, yeah.
He asked Jon, what will you do if you're tempted by that? Like, how will you handle that? if it troubles you. And he says, I will be troubled and keep my vows.
There you go. That's why Jon's the best.
It really is. He has made a vow to the Night's Watch. He's going to keep it. I don't care how cool Robb is right now and how awesome it would be to be like him.
Well, I wouldn't want to be Robb knowing what happens to him. So
that's true. But no one here knows what's going to happen to him. Right now, Robb's riding pretty high.
It's true.
Which, by the way, that's more thematic foreshadowing or even plot foreshadowing, because the idea of Jon's vows. He's made a vow to the Night's Watch, right? Mm-hmm. He will, I don't know what they are. He'll take no lands and have no kids and don't marry anybody, blah, 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 blah. Ygritte's going to test all of that.
Oh, yes,
He's going to be tempted to, maybe I should just hook up with this woman and become a wildling, because it's a lot more fun than having no sex for my entire life and being devoted to an old order run by people I don't really like.
Solid reasoning.
So that's going to be his trial. Like, how devoted to these vows really is he?
Not very devoted.
What do you mean that's very devoted?
Well, at the time, I mean, he is now, but...
He is then.
Yes, that's true.
He doesn't turn for Ygritte. I mean, we know that now.
Well, yeah. She also dies. I mean, he kind of had his hand forced. It's like, all right, well, I mean, what are you going to do?
He doesn't kill her.
Well, no, he doesn't kill her, but she dies. It's kind of the options taken away from him.
Wait, but that's... I mean, he could have... Anyway, I mean...
He could have. That's like me being like...
He could have gone over to the Wildlings and told them what he knew. He didn't. He goes undercover... And he falls for her, but he still lies to the wildlings, and he still breaks away when he can and goes back to Castle Black and warns them the wildlings are coming. If he really turned, he would have stayed with her.
Or he's playing both sides, and that's actually pretty dishonest.
He's
having his cake and he's eating it too.
I disagree.
He needs to pick a side. Either you're on Ygritte's side or you're on the Night's Watch. No, don't mingle.
He is the Night's Watch side.
And then he's selfish because he's like, Ygritte's going to come over to the Night's Watch because I am Jon Snow.
He never thought that.
Oh, yeah. What chapter do we get to in this book here?
A lot.
Is that in this book?
Oh, yeah. She's in this book. I mean, the thing where he was... I think you're completely wrong. You're misremembering it. That's what I think. No, because he has to go undercover because it's either that or be killed. And he goes undercover long enough to learn their stuff, and then he goes back to Castle Black and tells the Night's Watch that they're coming. Here's how they're coming. Here's how we defend them. He never let the Night's Watch in his heart.
But the wildlings just want love. They just want to be loved.
Yeah.
They just need a hot shower and a good meal.
That I agree with. Yeah, they do. And we'll discuss all that too.
When we get to the chapter.
Should they let through the wildlings? Wildling-human relations. We'll get into all of it.
What a tease for that chapter. So if you're not already reading along, you better start now because that interesting conversation is somewhere in your future.
We should fight more. I think it makes for good...
It's good.
Good fake TV.
It's very good.
Anyway, next week is going to be Catelyn 1, another of these series of introductions. Look forward to I'm going to guess more recap and more foreshadowing until we get to like Catelyn 4 or something.
All right.
Anyway, thanks for watching, everybody. We'll be back next week, Wednesday, 4 p.m. Central Standard Time. Here on the Windscreen Facebook page, more Game of Thrones news, more Song of Ice and Fire discussion, more genre fiction extrapolation, and more A Song of Dan and Josh. Thanks for watching.